We were woken up at 4 in the morning to our son puking. We noticed his breathing was not normal. He was wheezing and breathing with his entire chest, even though in resting position, so we took him into the hospital emergency room right away. There we discovered his oxygen levels were very low, so he had a breathing treatment given to him while they monitored his oxygen. Ultimately, he was transferred to the nearest pediatric care hospital because his oxygen levels were not increasing after the treatment. It was already 8 in the morning by now, and my husband went to pick up our daughter, so she ended up spending the day with us in the hospital. His oxygen levels were still not stabilized on their own and would especially drop when he'd fall asleep, so we were going to stay overnight. He was prescribed albuterol, which is basically asthma medication, every 2 hours until morning. During nap time, I held up extra oxygen for him since that's when he would desat the most. We spent all day in bed since he was hooked up to monitors, watching every movie they wanted to until Dad came to pick up Grace in the evening. We had a really cool respiratory therapist for the night shift who let them play with his stethoscope and let Kane run around for a little without any wires. Since this is the first time this happened, they didn't diagnose him with asthma, but said it's either that or it could be that he got sick with a virus. And for little kids, their airways could get inflammation during sickness, which goes away after you get older. Either way, it was very scary, and I'm glad we went to the hospital. Once we said our goodbyes to Dad, we went to bed. Sleep was horrible though, because we were woken up every 2 hours for his medication, but luckily after 4 a.m. they only did it every 4 hours, so we got a longer stretch of sleep in. In the morning, Kane woke up crying to go home, so I just held him to comfort him and get his mind off of it. He was allowed to be off the monitor now, so it felt nice to finally get out of bed and walk around. After he got his last dose of albuterol in the morning, we were given the green light to go home since he wasn't desatting anymore for a few hours, and now we just waited to get discharged. He almost fell asleep again while we were listening to worship music, but then remembered about Dad again and wanted to go home, so I found out there was a playroom and took him there while we waited for Dad to come pick us up. Once Dad arrived, we packed everything up and finally went home. We got home around noon, so him and I took a nap first thing, but he would continue albuterol every 4 hours for the next 2 days, and we'll monitor from there. At the time of posting this video, it's been 3 weeks since this episode, and thank God he's been totally fine.